Deep in the heart of Texas, there resides a true gem of culture and community. San Antonio is a sprawling metropolis gifted with a rich historical background, a bustling downtown, and a rapidly expanding circumference. It is the home of the Alamo, the mission in which the famous last stand of the Texans battling for independence from Mexico took place. The Tower of Americas gives an amazing view of the city, while the Riverwalk offers an array of restaurants and shops to enjoy. But those are just the beginning of what San Antonio has to offer its visitors. And for gamers, it also boasts one of the best game stores I've ever had the opportunity to visit, Night Watch Games. Night Watch Games is located on the northeast side of San Antonio on Blanco Road, just inside Loop 1604, in an area that continues to thrive in expansion and growth. It boasts no less than 3,400 square feet of space, not including its sister store, The Sanctuary, where you can find all your cosplay needs and wants. Its inventory is a vast collection of what the owners referred to as the 4 pillars of a game store: card games, miniature war games, tabletop board games, and RPGs, all stored on custom-made wooden shelves designed and built by the owners themselves. They also offer a rather encompassing selection of gaming accessories. Don't have time to make it into the store? You can also purchase what you need online and either have it shipped to you or held in the store for when you can make it in. Did I mention the scullery? Feel free to show up at Night Watch Games hungry. They have a well-curated menu of non-alcoholic beverages, entrees, and desserts available for competitively low prices. The gaming space is comprised of custom-made wooden tables to fit the medieval decorum of the store. It's first come, first served in this area, and its usage is free of charge. Some evenings, the tables here are used for special events, but more often than not, you're free to play whatever you'd like, wherever you'd like. If you're bringing a group of people with you, you can also call ahead and reserve space at these tables for a nominal fee. But that's not all the gaming area the store has to offer. It also boasts no less than 4 thematically decorated rooms that can be reserved by groups at least 24 hours in advance. The Renaissance Room offers its customers a step back in time, but that doesn't mean they've left some of the modern amenities out. A tablet and flat-screen TV combo allow users to program background music and/or ambiance soundtracks to play, enhancing the thematic experience. The Fantasy Room presents a more high fantasy feel to its customers, perfect for a rousing evening of role-playing in their favorite setting or system. The War Room is designed in memoriam of a loyal customer, highlighting some of his accomplishments in service of his country. Its decor resembles that of a makeshift command room in the trenches of a Vietnam War-era battlefield. And finally, the Death Star Room is designed to look like one of the Death Star's many hallways, complete with custom-made wooden tables that look like readout terminals on the Death Star. If you start to daydream just enough, you can almost see Han and Chewie running around the simulated corner in the hallway on the far wall. Suffice it to say that Night Watch Games has what you're seeking for thematic play areas, and they offer them in a flexible array of options. While I was visiting Night Watch Games, I had the chance to sit down with Paraic Mulgrew, co-owner of Night Watch Games, and ask him a few questions.
Hi, I am Paraic Mulgrew. I am the co-owner of Night Watch Games in San Antonio, Texas. I co-own the store with my wife, Brenda, and we have been in business for about 7 years now. Won a couple of accolades for being the best game store in North America from the Gaming Manufacturers Association, and several awards locally here in San Antonio, sort of the customer's favorites kind of contest held by the newsletters. When Brenda and I were in the Army, I'd been in the Army for about 10 years, we realized that that was not the culture that we wanted. The Army separated us a lot. I was deployed to Africa and Iraq and the Middle East, and she was in Germany and the States, and so we didn't really spend a lot of time together in our early marriage years, and we wanted to fix that. And the best way to get a couple to stay together is to put them in business together. It's also the easiest way to get a couple to divorce each other, by the way. So business is stressful, but we really wanted that setting in which we would be together in a joint cause. We also had 2 dogs at the time, and we wanted a situation in which we could bring the dogs to work. And owning your own business is really the answer to a lot of those questions. And then on a more esoteric level, we had a vision, a very stark, vivid vision of what a game store should be like. In our travels, even before the Army, we would experience game stores and we would constantly walk away thinking we could do better than that. And we should do better than that. And game stores should be something that's elevated from the tradition of 1980s and 90s to those dingy little holes in the wall to something a little more grandiose and legitimate. When we got out of the Army, Brenda and I really looked at each other and we said, well, what do we do now? And it was her answer to say, well, let's do that game store that we talked about. Let's do that hobby shop that we talked about over coffee. And I remember saying to her, I said, well, honey, that's the conversation that you have when you say, if you won $1 million, what would you do? And that was the answer, would be to open a game store. And we had not won $1 million. So I really did not know what she was talking about. The vision is very crystal clear. And she had a lot of business entrepreneur experience working for a major barbecue chain here in San Antonio called Bill Miller Barbecue. She had been promoted all the way up to executive assistant working for the owners themselves. So she got a lot of hands-on managerial experience of people and things and properties and wages and all that. So she really knew what she was doing on a business level. Whereas I had lots of experience as a gamer in the different cultures and games and different settings in which we explore this hobby. And so between the two of us, opening a game store seemed very viable, even though there's a lot of practical hurdles to cover. So San Antonio has always been home for both Brenda and I. We grew up here. My dad was military and was stationed down at Fort Sam Houston. And so a lot of my early life was growing up in San Antonio. And when I was in the Army, I experienced that feeling of always being out of your element. You're always in a new place. You're always having to learn where to go, and the language and the culture and all that kind of stuff was always something that I was adjusting to. And it was a stress of sort of an unnecessary stress as far as I'm concerned. And so when the idea was to get out of the Army and go somewhere, and the Army actually allows you to go anywhere you want, and they'll restation you that one last time. Having San Antonio be our home was a no-brainer because it was our base of operations. It was where our families are. We understood the layout of the land. And more importantly, in a entrepreneurial type of effort of opening a store, you have to know the community. You have to know who it is that you're trying to serve when you're opening a store, what it is that they're interested in, what is their capacity for spending, what's the demographics associated with the city and the macro culture of the city, and is something as, well, it used to be niche-y, but as something as sort of secular as gaming, does that fit into the culture of the city in which I find myself? And the answers were all overwhelmingly positive for San Antonio. And plus, they've got great tacos. It's going to sound so sort of cliche and trite, but it is really a profound reality. When you provide a service to a customer base, that relationship can really be superficial in that I sell you something, you buy something, that's the parameter of our relationship, and there's not a lot of depth to that. You know, you have that relationship with Amazon, you have it with a lot of retail spaces where you are, Night Watch Games, however, doesn't focus on that relationship. We focus on the relationship of we want to be a source of happiness for you, or we want to inspire you to see and be happy. And so a lot of people come into Night Watch and they have a problem. And the problem is they're looking for a game, or they need a game, they're looking for some form of entertainment. And we can be the solution to that problem by offering that product and having knowledge that sort of pegs the right product for the problem. And that's what we thought we were doing in the first couple of months of operation. But we realized that there is a profound consumer base, a customer base that comes into a place like Night Watch Games, and they have all sorts of different problems. And it has nothing to do with products at all. It's they're lonely, and they're looking for companionship, and they're looking for people to connect with. Well, Night Watch Games is that solution. We give you a community in which you can integrate yourself, and you'll find all sorts of cool people to get to know and play with, and they will support you throughout your whole life. But then you also have people that come in with problems like they're doing poorly in school, or they're going through a divorce, or they just broke up with their significant other, or they just got fired. The really significant life-altering problems we found that customers have, like we all do, but they turn to Night Watch Games for that solution. And so the most satisfying thing for Brenda and I is being part of that solution of giving people a source and a reason to be happy, regardless of the pitfalls of life. I would say there's probably three major things. One is the ambiance. We really invested in the setting in which you game, the setting in which you shop for your game, and that setting is an immersive one that hopefully takes you out of a real world that is imposing stresses on you, and we try to divorce you from those sources of stress and put you in an environment where you can forget about it for a little while, and you can really focus on the things that can make you happy and should make you happy, and focus on the people around you that will support you. And so the environment, I think the backdrop that you see here is a good example of that, is you're really not in the real world when you come into Night Watch Games, and yet everything around you is real. It's really a legitimizer of your passion. It's the place where you come in and you feel like your passion is being enforced and empowered by the very physical setting in which you find yourself. So the ambiance is one. Two is our level of commitment to servicing the community on a level that I don't think has been really focused on much in the industry until recently. As many of you know, gaming as a hobby has really blown up in popularity. A lot of the intellectual properties associated with gaming have really become empowered. And so gaming as a pastime, as a culture, is really become empowered, mainstream, legitimized. And so there's more and more people coming into the fold, and they're really being pulled from mainstream society. And so one of the interesting things about Night Watch Games is you will see the full gamut of society within our walls. All the genders, all the political sides, all the pagan versus religious viewpoints. It's really, all that stuff becomes meaningless within the walls of Night Watch Games, and you really focus on the humanitarian effort to be happy using games as the vehicle. And it's, again, very satisfying for us to provide that. The third thing that we really provide that is probably unique is a great understanding of what it is to be a player of games versus the buyer of games. And we keep those two experiences really separate so that you don't have a cross-contamination where you're trying to focus on playing a game and some person that's shopping and has a backpack and they bop you upside the head because they're trying to, explore the shelves while you're trying to explore the game. We keep those really separate so that you can have the experience that you want when you walk into Night Watch Games. A bit of advice. Okay, yeah, there are books that could easily be written about what should somebody think about when opening a game store. And if I was to focus on one small piece, it would be know yourself, in that know what you want to provide a community. Don't get confused by the fact that you're providing a product, like the boxes of a game, or the miniatures of a game, or the dice of a game. Those things sell themselves. You don't have to be a big component of that transaction. So you need to bring something to the experience of a gamer coming into a game store that is unique to you. And so by knowing what you believe and knowing what you want to provide your community through you, and by separation through your store, is to empower that experience and be able to govern what it is that you want your customer to feel and think when they walk away. And hopefully that's obviously a positive experience, but each game store is going to subscribe to a value system that will resonate from the owner and hopefully resonate with the customer base that they're serving. So knowing yourself is probably kind of the strangest answer I could come up with, but I think it's the basis of what is the store that you're going to make, how are you going to serve the community, and what it is about you that you're trying to impart onto that community. We're on the north side of San Antonio on Blanco Road. Our address is 16350 Blanco Road, Suite 117. You can find us on the internet of www.nightwatchgames.com. We also have a pretty prolific Facebook community called Night Watchers, and that's really where the community is talking amongst itself. Feel free to join that. We're also on Instagram. Again, Night Watch Games on Instagram. And then all sorts of other social media outlets. If you just Google Night Watch Games, you'll see us there.
The next time you're in San Antonio, I cannot more highly recommend a visit to Night Watch Games. The owners have done their homework and put in more than their fair share of hours on a weekly basis to make sure the store offers an experience that will have you walking away with a smile on your face and some new games or accessories in your hands. They've built Night Watch Games with the community in mind, and the strategies they employ are focused on the benefit of that community rather than just making a buck. Yes, they must sell product to pay the bills and keep the doors open, but their heart lies in the growth and enrichment of the community. While they are both shrewd business people and very professional to boot, Paraic and Brenda are a couple of the warmest individuals I've met in the industry, and that warmth overflows into how they own and operate Night Watch Games and the Sanctuary. Have fun gaming, and we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side. Take care.